Well, anyway, hey, it's great to be back and be here with you all today. I don't really have any major statements to make. I think Bill covered everything that's going to happen today pretty thoroughly. No new real earth-shattering announcements about our team. Everybody is healthy. Everybody was eligible from fall practice. We have a roster of 33 guys. I know the limit is 35, but we had 2 players transfer either during the fall semester or at the end of the fall semester. Those players will have to count towards our 35-man limit. So we're going to go into the spring with a 33-man roster. Obviously, I feel great about our team. I thought we had an excellent fall practice. We knew what we had position player-wise. The one question we still have is, who's going to man third base for us. Although we're narrowing in on that, I think we're going to be just fine there. Not as good as Christian Ibarra defensively because Christian Ibarra has now become the standard setter. I mean, he's the greatest third baseman I ever coached. So that'd be like replacing Brooks Robinson with the Orioles. Everybody tries, but nobody was ever quite him. And I don't think we'll ever have anybody like Christian Ibarra, but I think we're very capable of doing a good job there. The rest of the lineup, I've got a few options, and I think it's going to be a good, solid lineup. We've got a lot of experience, but I'm equally as excited about the young freshmen, the 2 Jordan boys, Dykman, Papirski, Grayson Bird. These kids have a chance to be really fine players. We just don't need them to play as much right away as we would with our pitching staff or in years gone by. So I think we're going to be solid with our position players, and then it's just a matter of these young pitchers. I did a couple radio interviews this morning, and the question always seems to be, are you nervous about counting so much on freshman pitchers? And I said, well, all you have to do is think back to last year. The question I was receiving from many of the members of the media was, how could you count so strongly on an unproven freshman in Jared Poche? And I believe my answer to everybody at that time was, this kid brings some real intangibles. He was the man at Letcher High School. He went 11-0. He pitched in the state championship game, shut out who I thought was the best team in the state, St. Thomas More. The next year they did win the state championship. He shut him out with 11 strikeouts, and he just had an aura about him of confidence, and he had a lot of moxie and savvy and all those other cool things. And I knew he'd do a good job. Well, he goes out and wins 9 games for us. So that's a pretty good example to set for these other freshman pitchers that are going to be coming along, and hopefully Jared will continue to be the leader of our staff that way. Obviously, losing Noel is a big blow, but this is the way it is in college baseball. I laugh sometimes when I hear coaches talk about how young they are. Well, you can't sign kids to 10-year contracts in college. You're going to be young every year in some aspect of your team, and you just have to have the courage to play those freshmen. And you have to hope that your coaches will do a good job with them and bringing them along. And once they get out there and get their feet wet, they lose that feeling of being freshmen quickly. Because when they're out there pitching against Ole Miss or Arkansas, whoever it's going to be, nobody's going to be saying, there's the freshman pitcher. Whoever's standing on the mound is the most important pitcher on our staff at that moment. It doesn't matter what year they are. So no excuses. I think we've got a good group of freshman pitchers, but I also think we've got some veteran pitchers that are going to fill some very significant roles for us. As we go into the spring season here, the biggest question, obviously, everybody wants to know the answer to is who's going to be your weekend rotation. But I can't tell you that 100% for sure right now as we go into the SEC schedule, because what we're going to do is use the first 3 to 4 weeks of the non-conference schedule before we open up against Ole Miss in the middle of March. We're going to get the freshmen as many innings as we possibly can, so we may start them, but it's quite possible one of them may move into the last couple innings role of the game, the closer or a key setup guy. Because anybody that's been around me has heard me say this many times, I believe that the person that gets the last outs of the game is just as important as the guy that starts on Friday night or Saturday afternoon or Saturday night, because you can't win in this league without somebody get the last outs of the game. I don't care really what sport you're talking about, football, basketball, baseball. If you can't hold the team at the end of the game, you just can't win big in the SEC. And those one-run games, those close games will end up defining your season. So that's going to be the main focus for us, is to figure out who's going to be the closer for us. Obviously, we love Poche. Poche's going to certainly capable of being a weekend starter for us. And we'll just have to see how these other freshmen play out and what they specifically, what their assets will be. You know, what I mean by that is, if one guy, they may all be good pitchers, but one guy may show a particular strikeout pitch, which would make him a better closer than somebody else. We'll kind of figure out the ways to put the pieces of the puzzle together. So I'm fired up. We're getting ready to get started. Of course, it got cold today, which is typical of opening day in baseball. We've had 3 beautiful days where we've done a lot of individual work, but it was time for it to turn a little bit chilly for us to get us ready for opening day in February. So with that said, Bill, I guess I'll just take any questions that people might have.